Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Anime, and welcome back to another Backweeb Boys podcast. This time we will be discussing My Hero Academia, Boku no Hero Academia, Season 2. This is a new segment on the channel. This is our second time doing it. Our first time doing it was less than a week ago, so it's not a brand new segment, but it's a pretty new segment where we look at animes that have ended, or seasons of animes that have ended, and myself and the Backweeb Boys, we give our thoughts on said anime. Last week we did Kakegurui. This week, this is not a weekly segment, by the way, it just worked out this way. This week we will be doing My Hero Academia Season 2. I do want to apologize before I get into this because a lot of people have been asking me where the weekly episode reviews went. I stopped doing them after the Stain fight. And that's because real life just got so hectic for me. So I do want to apologize to you guys for that. But for those of you that want to hear my thoughts and still, are interested in what I think about how My Hero Academia ended, because I did still watch every Saturday, week in and week out, this is the podcast for you. So if the Backweeb Boys want to introduce themselves, and we'll get right into this podcast.
Hey guys, Forte here again. Looking forward to another podcast with the boys. Can't wait to hear you guys' thoughts.
Yo, I'm Lock On.
Hey guys, Brad here. Looking forward to seeing all the guys' thoughts as always, and hopefully this week we'll have a bit more of a varied opinion, because last week I think we were all pretty unanimous in our opinions of Kakegurui, so should be interesting.
Yes. So, let's get right to it. I'm very excited also to hear from you guys in the comment section, because I haven't really heard from all of you about what you kind of thought about My Hero Academia's ending, or really the Season 2 ending, the last 5 episodes or so. The 5 topics we will be doing: general impressions of the show. Timestamps for all these topics will be down below if you want to kind of skip around. So we'll give our general impressions. This will be non-spoilers, just in case you haven't seen Season 2 yet and you want to know our thoughts on it. Then we will get into full-blown spoilers. That's the second part. We'll talk about the storyline, animation, characters. And then the third topic will be our favorite and least favorite characters. Character, I should say. The fourth topic, favorite openings and endings. My Hero Academia has some really enjoyable songs. The OST is incredible, and the openings and endings are phenomenal. So we will be ranking all 3. I know the first one was in Season 1, but we will be ranking all 3 openings and endings, giving our opinions on them. And then finally, we will be giving our ratings on a 1 to 10 scale. Crimson Avenger is not able to join us, unfortunately, this week due to some computer issues. So hopefully he gets those figured out very quickly, but it will just be us 4 doing this podcast. So general impressions of the show. These will not be any spoilers. Who wants to start? I'll let one of you guys start this one.
Sure, I'll start. I liked My Hero Academia Season 2. I liked My Hero Academia Season 2 as much as I liked the first one. It was a decent anime. Animation was great. Characters were well developed. If you read the manga, the anime won't disappoint you, so I recommend it. Like, if you watch Season 1 also. I'm pretty sure most of the people did watch it, but, I mean, for those who haven't seen it, give it a try. It's pretty good.
Yeah, this was definitely the anime, I feel like, to watch. I mean, this is like the anime. It's funny because I've seen, weirdly, a lot of kind of hate coming towards this anime recently, and that's what's always going to happen with popular shonens and popular animes, and I think it's kind of understandable. You can't really praise this show for being, I'd say, like, original or unique. Obviously, it's going to fall into some cliches, and so I think that I've seen a lot of channels and a lot of, really big YouTubers talking about how this is like revolutionizing shonens and how it's this brand new thing, when, I myself haven't really seen that many animes, but even I know, animes and mangas have been around for 20, 30 years. It's very tough to think of a unique idea and a unique concept. But what I love about the show, I enjoy the characters, I enjoy the execution. As Lock-On just mentioned, the animation was phenomenal, the music was great, the voice acting's good, and so, yeah, if you've seen Season 1, I definitely recommend Season 2 for you. This is definitely an anime that you don't really want to be left out on. I don't know many, I do know a couple of people, but besides like 2 or 3 or 4 people that have tried it and didn't like it, I don't know many people that have watched it and just didn't enjoy it or didn't like, or just didn't like it. I mean, a lot of people, even if they find the flaws in it, I think still can kind of look past those flaws and say, well, you know what, the show is definitely very enjoyable. So non-spoilers, season 1 was great. Season 2 was very enjoyable. I really did like it, and I wouldn't even recommend with provisions. I'd recommend this. If you like shonens, if you like superheroes, if you like just interesting, compelling storylines. X-Men, yes, I would definitely recommend this show. This is one of the most recommended shows that I personally would give to another human being, another anime fan. So, definitely recommendable, easily.
Going off with Lock-On and Dylan just said, I have to really agree. I think it's funny that Dylan brought up how it's not unique, and I have to agree. It is not unique at all. It has these same kind of shonen-esque elements we're used to seeing in a bunch of different anime, and then lately, especially in all these different forms of media, whether it be TV shows, manga, different type of anime even, we've been pelted with all these different superhero genres. And I have to say, one of the things I really liked about My Hero Academia is it's not new. It's nothing that really revolutionizes shonen, as a lot of people have said it, but it does all this stuff, and it's very typical, but it still manages to stay really fresh, which is what I like about it. I don't feel like you can watch My Hero Academia, or maybe I shouldn't go that far to an ultimatum because some people will have gripes with the show. But I don't feel like My Hero Academia is completely typical or boring. I think it stays really fresh throughout season 1 and season 2. I did like this season a little more than season 1. So if you did happen to drop My Hero Academia at season 1, because maybe you thought it started out a little slow, this season 2 really picks up. So I definitely would recommend it just for the reasons I said. Even though it's very typical, it's very shonen, same kind of elements, it manages to stay fresh even with the constant superhero theme in all different sorts of media, especially within recent years. It manages to stay fresh, and I agree with Dylan that I would definitely recommend this show.
For me, I kind of like my anime more sort of grounded in reality and more slice of life type stuff, but Boku no Hero Academia was a real just shock to me as how good this shonen series can be. I watched literally from episode 1 of season 1 all the way through to, I believe, the end of the first arc in season 2, and completely just didn't, notice that I went that far in. Definitely, as Forte and Dylan said, if you thought season 1 started a bit slow, if you left it off before episode 7, I think, in season 1, then definitely pick the show up again, because it does really get very, very good very, very quickly in season 2. But yeah, the characters, man, like I said it last week with Kakigiri, that the characters made the show, but this show for me was all about the characters, and they have such a diverse and fun lineup of characters that I really, really like.
Well said, Brad. Well said. Yeah, and obviously you guys leave your thoughts down below. We're not going to spend too much time on that, but you heard us for we all enjoyed season 2, if not more than season 1. And if you've watched season 1 and you haven't watched season 2, I actually have a friend at school who she wanted to wait for season 2 to be completed before she watched it. She likes to binge watch, and so if you're in that boat and maybe you're thinking, I don't know if I'm actually going to watch season 2, definitely give it a shot and go ahead and watch it. And hopefully, I think a majority of you will not be disappointed. So anyway, as I said, we're not going to spend too much time on non-spoilers. We are getting in to full-blown spoilers. We are going to talk about really anything we want regarding storyline, animation, characters, the plot, some things we want to maybe see in the future. Again, full-blown spoilers. If you do not want any spoilers, please turn off right now. You have been warned. Anyone want to kick us off?
I'll go ahead.
Awesome.
Okay, so first I kind of wanted to add on about the whole fan base, why it's so negative. Like, honestly, I do understand the negativity, but I think they're going way overboard. I mean, this is a bit off topic, but I kind of want to get this cleared out. Like,
no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, because this has been something. Not to interrupt you, but this has been something that I've been noticing a lot. There's been recently a lot of hatred towards this show,
but not to this show. Also, like the Black Clover, it didn't even start, and everyone's like calling it a ripoff of Naruto. And Boku no Hero Academia was a ripoff of Naruto. They called it a ripoff of Naruto. Every shonen anime that starts off big and into this like massive, like, I don't know, it's like popularity. Like, there's always haters that are like, oh, Naruto did it better. It's like, honestly, I would agree with them if My Hero Academia completely lacked on the connections to the what you feel about the characters or the animation or the plot points. It might have been a bit generic and cliched, but if they actually make the characters fresh, like Forte said, honestly, I don't really see what the big issue is, but there's always going to be haters, so I guess it is what it is. Okay, so on to my storyline animation. Animation was really good, honestly. The fight scenes were really fresh. I don't know if they were CGI or hand-drawn, but I think there were a bit of both, and that kind of evenly balanced out. Like, Stain versus Ida, Deku, and Todoroki, that was one of my favorite fights, or Deku versus Todoroki, and it was really good fights. Like, it was pretty interesting. And also, first I'll talk about the first arc, which was the tournament arc. Most people think like, oh, there's so many characters and side characters, they're not going to get developed, they're not going to have screen time. But the thing is, this tournament arc, which is supposed to do what it is, like introduce all the characters and kind of develop them more, did actually a good job of showing the individual character fights, their strengths and weaknesses, and develop them a bit more so we know more about them. So that was pretty nice, rather than sticking to the main character and such. And yeah, I liked the tournament arc, and I did like the results. I think the results were pretty reasonable, to be honest. Like like most people think, since Deku is the main character, there would be plot armor. He would win all the time. It wasn't like that. There was flaws, and there was like rivals that overcame him. So it was pretty nice touch and pretty nice sense of realism that it's like he's not the strongest just because he's the main character or plot armor bullshit. But yeah, I like that. And the backstories were great. Some people said, oh, it wasn't sad enough. Like the haters say, it's like, it's not sad, it's not depressing, it's not even a valid reason. If you think about the real world, you're like Todoroki's backstory, it's like your father's abusive to your mother and you resent your father, you don't want to use his power. That's pretty reasonable, like, backstory. It's not depressed to make someone like extremely cry, but it would make enough connection for the audience and the show itself to have some kind of connection to the Todoroki and the character. So, like, I don't know. It's just one thing that bugs me. Like, It's not like My Hero Academia is like, just think of it as like not a dystopian society, but like our real world today, but with superpowers, like X-Men, we're not persecuted and stuff like that. It fits the story really well, and it would be surprising there's more depressing backstories in this day and age in the setting. So, like, I don't know. It's just, yeah. But
yeah, no, I feel you on that. And just to add on to your point, Lock On, another thing that I see a lot is when something that, you can always find a scene, an anime or a show that is darker than the one people are referring to. You can always find a backstory that is more depressing and more dark, but that doesn't mean that a backstory that we're talking about isn't dark. I would call Todoroki's backstory dark. Now, have there been more darker and depressing backstories? Absolutely. And if you're someone who goes out of your way to hate on the show and dislike the show, you're going to find that and you're going to kind of point that out and say, oh, well, look at what this show did. Like, this was a good backstory because it was dark. This scene wasn't dark at all. And it's like, okay, well, first of all, it's just because one scene is more dark than another. Like a thing that I would like to compare it to is like, let's say, smoking weed, for instance. In most states, hear me out. In most states, smoking marijuana is illegal. And in everywhere, murdering someone is also illegal. Just because murdering someone is more illegal than smoking weed doesn't make smoking weed any more legal than you know the point I'm trying to make. Like,
so, exactly.
So just to support that, you can go.
Just to add on, like, more to Dylan, it's like the backstory doesn't mean shit. I'm sorry, but it's like it doesn't mean anything if the whole plot of the story and none of the setting is together, intertwined with it. You can literally see like one bad anime like have this really messed up dark story, but the story is so bad, the characters don't even relate, they're so OP. It's like the backstories itself is not the entirety. The whole plot and the characters have to come together with it. That's what makes a backstory. I think that's what most people like forget about that most of the time when watching like some anime or manga. That was like my rant. But anyway, on to the Stain arc, which was my favorite arc. Like my favorite fight was like Ida versus Deku, and Todoroki versus Stain. I'll talk about more of the characters in the favorite and least character, but like I did like like Ida's backstory, like, or like the current what happened to him, like the depression, like the anxiety and like the worries. It was pretty good. Deku as his friend, noticing that and trying to help him out was pretty good. Side character relationship forming, that was pretty good. And I think Stain was probably my favorite antagonist. Well, yes, antagonist, but I liked him because he wasn't a villain who just wanted to watch the world burn. But I'll go more in depth into that to the next topic. But and for the last one, which was the UA training or the final exam arc, right? Am I missing an arc?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, cool.
You're on it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, one of the best fights, All Might versus Deku and Bakugo. That was one of the best fights. Incredible scene. Loved it. I like that all the students didn't pass and some of the students had to fail. Shows the reality of the exams. Not enough, no plot armor or stuff like that. That was pretty good. Honestly, this show has tied into the sense of realism a bit. Like, there is plot armor, but that sense of realism and that sense of like mini elements kind of develop the story and make it so fresh. That's why I think most of the viewers, while we don't have superpowers, we can relate to them a bit. So that's my take on it. Yeah, so I really liked season 2, and like Brad and Dylan and Forte said, liked it more than season 1. Yeah. That's
awesome.
That's all.
Awesome. Yeah, no, really well said, Ute. And again, please, everyone in the comments, everyone watching, leave your thoughts on the show down below. So I will begin, and I kind of broke it up into the 3 arcs as well, the training arc. Before I get into what I thought of each arc and then what I thought of season 2. Yeah, what's up?
Oh, we missed arc. I'm sorry. We missed arc.
What arc did we miss?
Well, actually, no. Stain arc was part of the training arc, so never mind. But,
true. Yeah. It's all one. Yeah. But I'll probably break it up into that one too. Animation, amazing. The characters, I thought we got good backstory on a lot of the characters. I would have liked to see one character in particular maybe get a little more backstory, and that was Bakugo. That was probably the only thing that I wish we saw a little more of, but Todoroki's backstory I thought was very well done. Midoriya, we already know a lot about him. We didn't really need him. And then, just to see one of the before I get into favorite fights and favorite moments and stuff, overall, yes, it was a very interesting plot. The animation was beautiful. The music was beautiful. Stain was great. There were just so many great things that this show did, but kind of like Kakegurui, I felt like towards the end, it kind of lost a little luster. I don't know if I was the only one who kind of felt that way, but the thing that saved it was that Deku Bakugo versus All Might fight, because I agree with you, Lock-On. That fight was incredible, and that really, really hyped me up. And that was the second last episode, if I recall. And then the final episode was the second, yeah. And then the final episode was extremely creepy with Shigaraki and like in the mall scene. And I want to talk a little bit more about that because I know there's a lot of theories out there, and I have not read the manga, but that is too coincidental that he was in the mall and he knew where Deku was, and all the students were I believe that there is a traitor among the students. I think that's pretty obvious at this point, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that too, but maybe we'll get to that maybe we'll get to that when we talk about characters. I thought that was a little too coincidental, but maybe you guys disagree with me on that, but still, I thought the final 2 episodes were great. But between the Stain and between that All Might fight, I thought there was a little bit where it kind of lustered off. But besides that, I didn't think there were any really weak points of season 2 at all. My favorite fights was pretty much what Lock-On said. The All Might one with Bakugo and Deku versus Todoroki, and one that I really liked as well was Uraraka versus Bakugo. I loved that fight.
Yes.
That fight was great. That fight was incredible. And it just, because you think that Uraraka has it you think she has it in the bag with the whole meteors, and she's, screaming, I'm gonna win, and the meteors fall, and then Bakugo just blows all of her hopes away, and then just the determination and the struggle, that was a really that was a powerful scene. I really enjoyed that scene. But the scene that really sold me on the show was when we first learned that Deku does not have plot armor, as Lock-On said, and that was when Ida hit the Respro Burst, and he just blew when they were doing the headband games, and I forget what the name of the game was called, and Todoroki just rips the headband off Midoriya. I've probably watched that scene like 10 times. The music, the voice acting, incredible, and it really is. Midoriya fails to get the right one back, and it's really because of Tokoyami that they are able to proceed. And that was the first point where I was like, wow, Midoriya really doesn't have plot armor, because I'm used to shows where the main characters always do well and always succeed, and I'm thinking Midoriya is going to win the arc. It's pretty obvious. And he didn't even get to the semifinals, and I like that a lot. So the tournament arc I thought was really, really enjoyable. There were a lot of characters, and that kind of got confusing at times, but it was still cool. The designs of almost all the characters are very, very eye pleasant, very pleasant to the eye. And so seeing Class B in action and learning more names, the hypno guy, the mind control guy, the brainwashing guy, I forget his name, but I thought he was awesome. And so there were a lot of really enjoyable characters in Class B. Stain was great. That fight was incredible. I wish that arc lasted a little longer, because I can't help but feel that maybe Stain was a little bit of a waste. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was a great character, and he's probably been my favorite kind of antagonist, kind of villain, because as Lock-On said, you can't really call him that, but I just feel like they could have, now that he's captured, maybe he'll play a role later in the show, and hopefully he does, because I think and then again, his ideology is the reason that you see, the crazy blood-sucking girl and Davi, I believe that's his name, all come to the League of Villains, and like so he maybe wasn't wasted, but I don't know, I still feel like there was more to be desired with him, but that fight was incredible, and yeah, all in all, I'm very interested. The one thing I wanted to see was villains, and we got that after the tournament arc, and the tournament arc I thought was good enough that we didn't really need the villains to be present, and then after that, I thought we kind of did, and it was perfect that the League of Villains didn't really, Shigaraki stepped up, and you had, obviously Stain, and then it kind of tickered off a bit, and then Shigaraki gets introduced in the final episode. Not introduced, but he gets kind of rethrown back into the mix of things, and that whole scene with Deku was chilling, bone-chilling, really, really great scene, and I cannot wait, because we're going to see more of the villains in Season 3. Cannot wait for that. So all in all, I really loved Season 2. Again, I thought it maybe ticked down a little bit between the All Might Deku Bakugo fight and the Stain fight, and maybe I was the only one who felt that way, but still, even with that little brief, 3-4 episode stint, 20-25 episodes, really enjoyable, really loved Season 2.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with you guys on that. Going off what Dylan and Lock-On has said, the storyline, as I said before, I really enjoyed it, even though it's about heroes, and there's a lot of hero stuff in the media right now, but it still manages to stay really, really fresh. And I think a lot of that, as you guys have said, is because of the great characters. The characters are just so, they're somewhat typical. They fall into some similar tropes that you do see in shonen, but their personalities and their motivations really carry them forward in the show for me. I feel like that was one of the major aspects of the show. Even though it has a large cast, I think it handles it very well, just considering how large the cast of characters is. So I like that. Going to the plot, I think is very interesting. I think Midoriya, our main protagonist, I think he's a really great protagonist. I liked following the story through his eyes mostly. And who doesn't love to root for an underdog, especially when the underdog is such a nice and kind kid. But even though he's gentle, he also has this side where he will do whatever it takes to save a friend or even save someone he doesn't know, which I really liked. I'll go more into him and other characters in the favorite and least favorite characters, but I did like seeing the story mostly through his eyes. I thought it was really interesting. I will agree with you guys that after the Stain arc, it did taper off a bit. We got some development, which was nice. I liked the episode, I think was immediately right after the Stain arc, or actually I think it was the episode after that, because right after the Stain, we had the fight with him. It was kind of the aftermath. But after that, we got the picking the names. I thought that was a really, really great episode. I loved it. It was more of a comedic episode, and it did have some development, but I thought it was a good breather. It did taper off a bit, and I was glad to see the Deku Bakugo fight against All Might. That was really nice. I was also glad to see a lot of other characters in action. I thought it was good that they paired more major characters seemingly with lesser characters. So we were coming to see the major characters. That's what we were really hype about. And then we got to see some of the lesser characters also perform, kind of remember their names and learn a little more about them. I think that was a good idea based off the manga. I'm assuming they did the same order in the manga. I'm not sure, but whoever decided that was a really, really good strategy, a good idea. Going to the music, I think the OSTs were absolutely amazing. They fit the fight so well, such as the Ida, Deku, and Todoroki fight against Stain. That was my favorite fight as well, followed by the Deku versus Todoroki fight in the Sports Festival arc. I thought that one was really good. And as Dylan said, the Uraraka versus Bakugo fight was really important for me because I'm kind of on the fence with Bakugo. I won't go too much into it, but I felt like by developing Uraraka in that fight, they also raised Bakugo up, because one of the things he did really well was he didn't take her lightly. He still treated her like any other opponent, which I really, really enjoyed. And it kind of raised Bakugo as a character for me because, he's a little brazen, kind of rash. So I was glad I got to see a different aspect from him. Soon after that fight, he obviously keeps the same personality, which is, a little abrasive, or not a little, a lot abrasive, but I was glad to see that. So going off of that, back to it tapering off, I did think it tapered off a little bit, but not too much. The storyline was still really, really great for Season 2. As I said, I felt like it moved a little faster than Season 1, but that can't be helped because we're dealing with a lot of exposition of a lot of different characters in Season 1, and we're slowly working our way into the world and the setting of the Hero Academy, as well as the general world of what it is to be a hero. And I like that in Season 2, we were kind of already on our feet and ready to go, and that was nice. But as far as seeing more or less of an aspect, I was actually okay with everything. I liked every single arc. It, like I said, it didn't really get stale. Going off what Dylan said, the brainwashing guy was kind of a diamond in the rough for me. Hitoshi Shinso, once again, sorry if you guys know Japanese better than I do, but hopefully I didn't butcher that guy's name completely. But he was a diamond in the rough for me. I was glad to see his character and how his quirk was seemingly evil and how he was kind of, how should I say, kind of put aside from everyone else. They just looked at his quirk and they're like, it's evil. And then after he showed it off, even though he lost to Deku, a lot of the people were like, what are we doing? This guy's quirk is amazing. And it is a really good quirk, especially if you have no idea what his quirk is and you respond to him and then he can control you. That is really good quirk, I think. And I think it's a quirk worthy of a hero. And they just kind of shunned him and put him to the side because his quirk was kind of evil. And that was a diamond in the rough. I didn't expect to like that character at all, but he really moved up the ladder for me. But yeah, overall impressions of story, animation, characters, as I said, I enjoyed it to death. I really liked this season of My Hero Academia. I do want to mention just really quickly, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but going to the negativity, I want to bring up one thing in particular, which was Ida's brother. I have a friend who said that he kind of wished, this is a friend in real life, who said he kind of wished Ida's brother had died instead, but I think that was the point. In this world, if you lose your ability to be a hero, that is almost like death in of itself. You lose your
That's even
identity.
worse than death, to be honest.
Exactly. yeah, you lose your entire identity. And as you just said, Lock-On, Deku started out with no quirk, and he was just completely shunned. His mom was even like crying for him because this is the world. Without being a quirk, without, not everyone's a hero, but even without having a quirk, that is almost like death in itself. And then to be a hero and then lose the ability to be a hero, you have a hero name for a reason. It's like a different identity. And when Ida's brother lost the ability to be a hero, that was the death of his hero title. And I think that was more powerful in and of itself than just killing him, in my opinion. I think it was a good idea by whoever wrote the story to do it that way. And I think that's what they were aiming for. You have your persona, but then you also have yourself as a hero. And once you lose your ability to be a hero, you lose that title, that name. And I thought that was really important. So once again, all in all, I thought storyline, characters have been absolutely amazing. Can't wait for season 3.
Yeah, I kind of, again, am feeling the same way about everything you guys have said. Favourite fight for me has definitely got to be one that Dylan brought up, which was Uraraka versus Bakugo in the tournament arc. Just, again, I was under the impression and kind of hoping that Uraraka would actually put out the win with that one, but more so the fact that they did the character development quite well with, specifically with Uraraka with that fight. I think later on in the season, I believe in the exam arc, they brought up her learning from that experience, and really all of the heroes learning from their training, learning from the tournament arc, and just what was one of my biggest complaints with season 1 was that Deku really didn't do much. I mean, obviously he didn't have a quirk at the beginning, and we did see him obtain that quirk from All Might. He still couldn't really use it by the end of season 1, and that was my main gripe, and why I didn't really like Deku as a character that early on. And this season just saw him grew quite a bit, and so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. The Stain arc could have been, or should have been, a lot longer. I think the fight was, the perfect length, like 1.5 episodes long, I think it was. That was really good for that one single fight, but I think they could have maybe give it, 2 episodes afterwards or 2 episodes before, just to build things up a bit more, because we only really focused on those 3 heroes, on Todoroki, Ida, and Deku in that sort of fight, and then we were left with all of the other heroes in a separate, 1 episode, 2 episode stint afterwards that they could have explored a bit further with those characters, I think. But really, for me, I think one of the highlights this season was actually getting to see how creepy Shigaraki is without the hands on his face, because that final episode, man, just him sitting there, his hand clenched around Deku's neck, just staring into his soul, was goddamn disturbing and terrifying. And just the fact that Deku was able to maintain himself that much during that, even though he was, clearly frightened as hell, shows a huge amount of character development for him, considering where he was at the beginning of the season, and how a huge lack of confidence he sort of had in himself, especially with the fact that Forte brought up that in this world if you don't have a skill, then it is practically like you're dead. One thing I want to see more of or I would have liked to see more of, and definitely hype for season 3 for, is All For One. We got teased with that halfway through the show, or just after the Stain arc, I think it was. And this guy, Jesus, like when we saw him in the final episode, he doesn't seem to have like any facial features. He's just like, seems like he has just tissue, like body tissue all over his face, and the way he's silently sort of controlling things with the League of Villains, and we know he's made the no moves, and we know he can, take people's powers and give them to himself and give them to other people, and he wants Shigaraki to become the next, or his protege, I guess. I just want to see more of him, and how all the heroes react to seeing him and facing up against him, and specifically how All Might reacts to facing him once more, because we know that All Might did defeat him in previously, but to see him come back and potentially be stronger than before will be very interesting indeed.
Yeah, well said, Brad, and well said, Forte, and well said, everyone. It's just funny that, like, that's why I love these podcasts, because there's just so much to talk about, and all of us praised the show and brought up things that I don't think any of us, the other three, were like thinking. So really good job, guys. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and please leave your thoughts on that down below. Of course, us giving our thoughts on the whole plot is going to be the majority of these podcasts, but now we get into some personal topics, and that is our favorite and least favorite characters. Then we'll go into our favorite openings and endings in the order. So I guess in a way we will be saying our least favorite openings and endings as well. And then finally the moment you've all been waiting for, a 1 to 10 rating. So favorite, least favorite character. Does anyone else want to start this one? All right, I'll start.
I can start it.
Okay, yeah, Forte, you start, bro. You got it, bro. You got it.
I think this is very telling for My Hero Academia. That I was completely torn between my favorite character. I was really between Izuku Midoriya, the main protagonist, obviously, and Todoroki Shota. I ended up going with Midoriya just because I felt that we saw more of him from the beginning, and we kind of see the story through his eyes. And I just like how he's an underdog. It's always great to root for the underdog. And also how Lacan stated, he doesn't have plot armor. He really struggles to sort of fit into the academy and really establish himself as a hero and use his quirk, especially since he starts out quirkless. He's such a really nice kid, but at the same time, even though he has these, as I mentioned, these typical shonen traits of a main protagonist, he's kind, he's trying to look out for the others, he's trying to look out for his friends and other people, he's still a really, really strong protagonist, I feel like. Such as even in early on in season 1, I'll just briefly mention this since it's about season 2, but he rushes in to save Bakugo against the slime villain without a quirk. And that's what first attracts All Might to him on passing One for All. And I thought that was really great. I just like his persona, but another thing about him is he's not very, how should I say, he's not very rash. He's different from a lot of shonen protagonists in the fact that he knows he's not very powerful, but he also doesn't try to overcompensate with a brazen personality. He's very calculating and very smart, which I also liked. And he does whatever it takes to help his friends. So I ended up picking him, but Todoroki was a very, very, very close second, especially with all the development he got in season 2. We didn't see much of him in season 1, but it was nice that we saw a lot of him this season. And we learned that amazing backstory, or I should say sad backstory, but as a viewer it's amazing to see that kind of development and see what these characters go through, because it's important, or I should say it's easy to forget that these are all just kids. Like Todoroki's 16, I believe Deku is 15. They are so young to have all this responsibility put on their shoulders and to go through everything they've gone through in the past. I would say the bullying Deku went through is traumatizing enough. Maybe that's a little extreme to say, but I think it's pretty rough. And then obviously Todoroki's backstory, I would say it's pretty dark. I'd probably 8 out of 10 on dark scale, or 7 out of 10 on the darkness scale, if there's a certain scale. If nothing else, it's very, very sad. And that his father thrusted so much responsibility. But I think those are my two favorite characters. It's pretty close to a tie, but I was just so amazed that I liked a shonen protagonist the most. Usually in shonens I like the rival character, or maybe a secondary character a little more than the main protagonist, but it was so great that I actually liked Izuku Midoriya the most, or Deku. I liked how he changes everyone he meets. Once again, very typical, but it's hard for me to look at all these other characters' developments without talking about Midoriya, because he's mostly the reason for all their development. Todoroki would still be trying to reject his father and only using his eyesight and not using his full potential and being the hero which he could be if it wasn't for their fight in the tournament arc. I guess we could look at what ifs. Maybe Bakugo could have pulled it out of him eventually, but I still just think that Izuku Midoriya, and even Todoroki says it, is the main reason for that. So moving off my favorite character, my least favorite character may be something, I'm interested to hear your guys, but mine may be a little different from yours, but my least favorite character was Nato Monoma. I'm not sure if I said that right. And if you have no idea who
Is she the invisible girl? Is she the invisible girl?
No, that's Toru. It was that guy from 1B who can copy other people's quirks.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Now, see, that is important. The fact that you guys, like, not making fun of you, because I had to look him up. I couldn't remember his name. I was like, that guy was kind of a jerk. I didn't like him.
Type is his name? What is his name?
Nato Monoma? I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but he's in class 1B, and he can copy people's quirks. And the reason I didn't like him was, I'll mention this later, but first of all, the fact that none of you guys...
okay, this guy.
Yeah, that guy.
He's really interesting. I'll just say, no spoilers, that he turns in... He just... In the manga, you'll see more. Yeah.
Okay, so he may not be my least favorite later, but right now...
No, it's...
Right now, he's kind of a jerk. So my main thing was he was kind of forgettable in season 2. I felt like, number one, he didn't do anything really impactful. And every time after the sports festival, after he lost, all he would do is kind of pick fights with 1A and be like, oh, I thought 1A was the greatest class. Why can't they do any of this? And he was just really annoying to me. And not to judge his quirk, but his quirk, if you were literally just really strong and didn't use your quirk, anyone could beat him. And normally I wouldn't judge him by his quirk, but he was kind of cocky and kind of a jerk. And he does have an inferiority complex, which, it's understandable. He wants to rise to class 1A's level. I understand. But picking fights in the lunchroom just for no reason, or even in the stands, he was just kind of annoying. So for me, he was my least favorite character for those reasons. I don't know anything about why he wants to be a hero, what his backstory is. So as Lock-On said, maybe later on he can change. But as of right now, he was my least favorite character.
I think Lock-On just spoiled that he's going to become a villain down the road.
No, it's
that's
not
what I
like
got
that.
from that exchange.
It's
That's what
not
I got
like
from
that.
it.
It's more...
That'll be interesting, I guess. Maybe I'll like him more.
It's not that important. I'll just say he's just like a comic relief. Like he's like a dick. He's basically like that.
Gotcha.
So he's more of what Forte dislikes.
You can still hate the comic relief. But I'll go. I'm going to be pretty quick because we still have a decent amount to talk about. But I am going to just basically piggyback what all Forte said, and Todoroki is my favorite. And it was between Todoroki and Deku for me as well. And I just picked Todoroki because I enjoy watching him a little more. He was just a great character, and to see the progression from the start of the tournament arc where he's kind of picking low-key fights with Deku, and he's like, I'm gonna beat you, you suck, blah, blah, blah. Okay, he wasn't being, that blunt, he's not Bakugo, but still, he was, picking fights with the kid. And then by the end of it, he's one of the greatest allies. He's opened his heart. He's, getting through to Ida. He's giving Ida speeches that Deku was giving him and of course, as you said, it all goes back to Deku, and that's the reason that he's the way he is, and that's the reason that he was able to open up and become this character. But still, I like to give him some credit, and the fact that he visits his mom in the hospital seemingly every day or on the weekends is very heartwarming. He's just, I really enjoy watching him, and so Todoroki's my favorite. As for least favorite, it was Mineta until that midnight fight. I don't know why, but I kind of like that whole fight. And as the old lady nurse said, picking up girls can count as motivation. And I was like, you know what? I guess it can. I guess it can.
Yeah, it's
sure,
like.
Sure.
Sorry. One thing I wanted to.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
So sorry about Mineta. It's like he's. I don't know. I'm like the only. Oh wait, yeah. It's just like he's so interesting, to be honest. I don't know why the fact it's so much hate is. Yeah, it's just annoying.
Well,
yeah,
that's what I was to say. He's basically a sexual harasser, so I understand why.
Yeah.
I understand why. I mean, he is. He is. But obviously, he's not my least favorite. My least favorite is the traitor of UA, and that is the Invisible Girl. I am confident that
rip waifu.
That she is the traitor, the Invisible Girl, the other person. The other person that kind of, and just because obviously being invisible is just like kind of sketchy to begin with, and it's tough for me to imagine that she can always stay invisible. And obviously, Shigaraki got into the school in the first place to get the plans in season 1, and she was the one who suggested they go to the mall. She was the one who suggested they go shopping in the final episode, and all of a sudden Shigaraki is in that same mall at the same time the students are there. it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Another line that rubbed me the wrong way was Kaminari, the electric guy, when he said, yeah, I saw the video of Stain and he was actually like really cool. And then someone was like, you can't say that. And he's like, oh crap, you're right. And so, but then again, Stain's kind of different and Kaminari's a bit of an idiot. So no offense to Kaminari fans. I enjoy him, but the Invisible Girl, she was the one who suggested that. She really rubs me the wrong way. She's my least favorite character, but if she is the one orchestrating this, obviously that's going to change down the road because that would be a crazy plot twist. That is the big wild card that this show has for them. Which student is the traitor, or which teacher is the traitor? Who's the one that's giving the League of Villains this information, and why? And that will be a very interesting card that they can play down the road. But those are my favorite and least favorites.
Just wait. I'll start. But adding on to Dylan, wasn't there in season 2, the Mike says, I forgot the hero's name, but it was something Mike.
Present Mike.
Oh yeah, Present Mike. Didn't he say that there is a traitor in UA? So yeah,
he either said that in season 2, or he said that because I read that online, and that might be in a manga.
No, I'm pretty sure he said that in season 2. That's why.
Okay, maybe he did. Maybe he did.
I don't even know what the traitor is. I'm caught up on the manga. I'll just say that. So I'm really surprised to see. But anyways, that was a bit of spoil. But sorry, so hyped. My favorite character would be, usually when I choose a favorite character, I'd be like, oh, I like that fighting style. I love the personality. I can relate to the character. None of the students kind of stood out to me. And usually I'm not a villain type of guy. So, which is weird, is that Stain was probably my favorite character. Because, first, his fighting abilities, I kind of like that he was wielding like a edge, kind of like a ragged edge katana. And I like the fighting style, and I did like his quirk, which was really interesting. You have to lick someone's blood, and it depends on people's bloods type, and that was pretty interesting. And yes, I know, Naruto fans who hate My Hero Academia, I know Hidan licks blood, and yes, I get it, but it's still unique. There's barely any people who do that, and it's different. It is really different. It is like the concept, like the first concept, licking the blood might be the same, but it's pretty interesting, to be honest. I think it did well with that. So what really sealed the deal for me was his philosophy, which was like all the things he said were not actually wrong. He says like heroes are supposed to be the ones, not for fame, not for anything. They should be the ones helping the people because they want to, and it's like all that ideology and stuff like that, which was not wrong wrong. And he also was kind of judgmental of like other people and stuff like that. It's like a hero shouldn't be like that. And he, to be honest, even if it sounded hypocrisy, he was kind of right, to be honest. Like it was pretty interesting. Like all he said, like the ideology wasn't fully messed up and wrong, but it did get warped. And then Stain is this character that is the embodiment, the byproduct of the corruption of the Hero Association and the world. So it's really interesting that we have these like other people who's been affected by the system, like in a negative way or something like that. It's really interesting. So I really liked it because it's not like he's a villain because he wants to kill people. It's not like he's a hero because he actually tries to kill unworthy people, he says. He does it because he's like, I want to be that person that I want to take down all the false heroes and change the system and get killed at the end. Like, he's like somewhat respectable. At the same time, we can see where the warping and then all the corruption kind of centered around him. So it was pretty good. And ironically, he did, after he got captured, he did the thing he didn't want people to do, which was join the villain association and stuff like that, which is so ironic, but at the same time, And at the same time, Midoriya learned a bit of well for him, and the character development of Ida was great, and yeah, it was really good. Okay, so for my least favorite character, I really didn't have any. But until Forte mentioned that one kid that I forgot his name, never gonna remember it probably again. But was that
Nato Monoma?
Yeah,
really
Nato
sorry.
Monoma. Yeah, whatever, that guy. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, he's a pretentious jerk, of course. So.
Agreed.
And he really didn't do anything outstanding, and yeah, I guess he is. The reason why Mineta, he got development, so I honestly say that he's really an interesting factor because from I don't know where I read this, I think it was the manga, he's really good at studies, that's why he got into UA. Just that he's a coward, but his quirk is also pretty interesting, to be honest. So, yeah, that's all. Brad, you can take over.
Thanks. For me, I'm kind of like stuck between two favorite characters right now, and that's either Ochako or Bakugo. Bakugo, I don't think because of his character. I'm actually kind of thinking just because of his personality. Just whenever he talks, I can't help but smile because it just it's so raw, but it's so electric, and I just love every word that comes out of his mouth. It's never a dull moment with him. Like the room could be completely silent, and then Midoriya just says like one word, and Bakugo is immediately off at him and
triggered.
Yeah, he's immediately triggered. He gets triggered very, very easily. But I think he had a bit of a despite not being too developed this season. I think he got a bit in that final episode, that final fight with Midoriya, which Midoriya did obviously finish the fight against All Might and ensure that they did pass the test. But Bakugo had the initiative of switching up one of his grenade cannon things he has on and giving it to Midoriya. So I like there was a bit of a change of personality in that sense. Uraraka, I love her as a character. No more to say there. I'm sorry, Sue fans, but Uraraka.
Is it just because of the character, man?
Agreed.
Is it because
you know who's an underrated waifu? The big hands girl from Class 1B.
Oh,
yeah. Which one?
She's awesome. She's the one who always bashes that annoying guy on the head.
Oh, that girl.
Yeah.
I thought.
I hope we see her more because she's nice.
Yeah.
I think I kind of like the 1B girl with the ivy as her hair or something like that. That girl. That girl is pretty
nice
interesting.
too.
She's like.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, all the B characters are pretty interesting, to be honest, and most of them aren't jerks like.
Right,
and
hopefully we see them more. But yeah, Brad, waifu wars. Get into your least favorite.
Dude, yeah.
Waifu master.
Well, it would have been Minato if not for that episode where he carried his team to victory. But it has to be for me Aoyama, and I'm probably butchering that because
stomach guy. Yeah.
I don't think he contributed anything to the characters. I don't personally.
Who?
The guy with the thing in his stomach.
The naval laser, or
yeah, except the final thing of teasing Ochako with you know, her potentially being in love with Deku. Apart from that, I don't think he really brings anything to the table.
Merci.
He's just comedy relief, and I don't find the comedy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I can understand.
But apart from that, like one more character I kind of want to mention quickly: Sirius. Is she an anime only character? Because that was from the Froppy episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was anime only, but that's fine.
I liked her.
Yeah,
I liked her quite a lot.
Oh, you mean the blue, the one with the seagull?
Blue-haired sailor girl.
Oh yeah, it was a filler, to be honest.
Yeah,
it was not in the manga. I'll just tell you that.
I would like to have seen more of her in the main cast. If she wasn't a manga anime only character. Sorry.
Brad all taking all the waifus, just judging them.
Yeah, but just a lot of great characters. I know we're almost already an hour into this. Jesus, imagine, I know My Hero Academia a lot to say. Imagine if Crimson was with us, this podcast would have been like 90 minutes, but we are gonna Jesus, we are gonna rapid fire our favorite openings and endings. We'll each go for a minute or two, then we will give our ratings, then we will wrap things up. So now is the exciting, hopefully it's been exciting thus far, but now is the real exciting part. Friendships might be destroyed. Who wants to start with their favorite openings and endings?
Okay, I'll go.
We will do favorite endings first, and then we will do favorite openings. So only name the endings right now. Only name your favorite endings.
Okay. Okay. I'll go first. I don't remember the names, but I'll just go with ending 1, then ending 2. Ending 1, I just really love the simplicity. It's pretty good. He's like walking. Sayonara. It's pretty catchy. Ending 2 was the visuals were better. But ending 1 was more nostalgic for me, so that's personal bias. But ending 2 was pretty good. Bakugo as like some Dragon King or something. That was pretty funny. Yeah.
That was ending 3.
It was really good
visuals. That was ending 3. That was ending 3.
Right. It's ending 2 of season 2. If that.
Oh,
helps.
Right. No.
Gotcha.
There's 3 endings. I am so sorry. I completely forgot. Ending 2 was the one with the girls. And,
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry. So then that'll be ending 1, 3, then 2. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Ending 2, I just didn't enjoy it. Yeah, that much.
Gotcha. So for me, all the openings and endings are enjoyable, so this is really tough. Considering visuals as well, probably Lisa is great. Probably 3, 2, 1. And that sucks because ending 1 is good, but the only part I really like about ending 1, song-wise, like the verses are kind of boring, the choruses are really good. But yeah, it's probably ending 3, ending 2, ending 1 for me. Ending 2, the girl's got an incredible voice, but they're all really good songs.
Yeah, for me, it goes ending 3, then ending 1, then ending 2. I liked ending 2, as you said, Dylan. I really liked the music, but it was a lot of still frames, and I mean, I still liked it. When I say least favorite, they're all really good. So I still liked it. I particularly liked ending 1 as well. I made second just because Deku's running, and there's a point where he trips, and he still keeps running, and I thought that was really important. And obviously, he's chasing his dream, and I like the song. Ending 3, which is ending 2 of season 2, I really liked just because they're kids, and when I was a kid, I kind of like made stories with my friends where I would insert myself and my friends in like a fantasy land, and I kind of feel like it told the story of season 2 with them in a fantasy. Bakugo and Deku have an exchange, and they end up teaming up. I thought that was kind of like them versus All Might. So going really quickly through that, I like that symbolism in there. So that was my favorite endings in that order.
I think mine
Gotcha. Yeah, ending. Oh, Brad, sorry to interrupt you. There was another scene in ending 1 where Deku is running and he trips and he like wipes away tears and you can see the tear marks fly. So that was ending 1. Ending 1 was like, it was.
I love that.
It was like light on animation, but at the same time it was really good. But yeah, go on, Brad.
I think my favorite was it was the same as Dylan's. So 3 was number 1 was Lisa. Lisa's song. I love Lisa. I'm a big SAO fan, so any song by her is great. Number 2 is ending 2. Again, that song is as well. Just all the songs I think are pretty good. I'm not too fussed on ending 1. I think the best part of that song for me personally is like the opening 5 seconds. I know I'm going to disappoint a ton of people, but the song's still good.
Disappointed, triggered.
I just like the opening 5 seconds, but the visuals for me for the first ending were just a bit lackluster. I think I preferred the stills of ending 2.
Very fair. Brad, why don't you keep us going with your openings?
Oh, okay. So openings, this one's hard.
Very hard.
Opening
Very hard.
3 is first. That song just, anytime you hear it, immediately hyped up and I think really well, at least summarizes what you're going to see in the show. Then opening 1, The Day, that one's great. That's just a great song, and I think again, opening 2 is my weakest for the visuals. I really didn't like the visuals in opening 2. In my opinion.
Fair. Lock on, then Forte. I want to go last.
Okay. I'm very opposite of Brad. Opening 2 is my favorite, then opening 1, then 3. But all of them were great. Okay, opening 2, I love the visuals of them training. It's like hyping it up. Like the final part when it's like just hitting the vocal cords hit, and then it shows Todoroki like coming out with like the eye fire and ice, the breaking the ice. That's like where the point. It's like so hyped up, and it gives you. It's like really good fighting music, to be honest. Good training music for me personally. I loved opening 2. Peace sign. It's one of my favorites. And okay, next one is opening 1, and opening 1 was really symbolic because it was the first season My Hero Academia was animated. It's like so powerful at the very first one. It's like we see All Might and we see Deku. Yeah, it's really good. Opening 3, I loved it. The song was great, but ironically for me, I thought the visuals didn't match. Like the song was good. Like don't get me wrong. It's like the visuals. It's like it just didn't feel like hyped up. It just felt lacking to me personally. But that's just me. Yeah. That's it.
Okay, well, if it was just based off music alone, I would go opening 2 was my favorite, then 1, then 3. But then adding in visuals, which is the real ranking, honestly, it goes for me opening 3, 2, and then 1, just straight in reverse for me. Mainly because opening 3 is my favorite because I did like the song. Even though it was my least favorite song, I still really, really liked it. You know, My Hero's good with music and animation. But what I really liked is when the Todoroki, Ida, and Midoriya part of the opening when they're fighting Stain, it does this really cool like 3D pan where you're like kind of looking at the side of Todoroki and Ida, and then we see them in the front while they're attacking Stain. Same with Midoriya, you kind of rotate to get a different angle, and I liked what they did with that. I thought it really did well with the action. I agree with Lock-On with opening 2. It just barely missed my spot for number 1 just because I like how they're training, and then when the music like finally hypes up, you see the action. Todoroki's ice is getting shattered by Deku's attack, and I like that. Opening 1 is last, not because it was bad. I just really like the symbolism and the visuals of the later ones, and I like more how Deku's portrayed, seeing his dream. In opening 2, he's kind of looking more towards All Might like he's obtainable, and then in opening 2, he's looking more at All Might like he's obtainable, and then opening 3, he's like literally touching All Might, like, oh, he's right in front of me, I can do this, I can be a hero. And then opening 1, he's kind of like reaching for it. Good symbolism, but I just liked the other 2 more, with opening 3 being my favorite.
Very fair. Yeah, very fair. See, for me, it's funny because at the beginning, Forte, you said that like visually is more important than musically, but for me personally, the music means more to me than visuals. So I mean, I guess everyone has their own way of judging it. So right. For me, it is visuals are important. Don't get me wrong, too. But for me, it's opening 1, opening 3, opening 2. Which sucks because opening 2 is good, but the verse, I mean, you can literally fall asleep during the verse, and that's going to probably offend a few people. You can fall asleep during the verse, but then Lock On, when the chorus hits, the chorus is incredible, but the verse is like, da-na-na, let me take a quick 30-second nap before the good part comes.
I really like that part, but yeah, I really liked it.
Well, you know what? No, I know I'm in the minority there. I know a lot of people love opening 2, but I mean, I don't know. Opening 1 is just hype the whole
like
way,
a lot of people like opening 3 also, and I didn't.
Yeah.
It just like felt lacking. Too. So it's like all tastes.
The full version, version of opening 3 is amazing too. That final chorus, Amuro Zarashi just goes in, and he's got a great voice. All the music is great, but that's my ranking: 1, 3, 2. They'll all be on screen, so you can compare it. I think opening 3 probably had the highest average rating out of all of us, but that's just off the top of my head. Obviously, you can see that on screen. But now, we are going to rate Season 2 of My Hero Academia on a 1 to 10 scale. Who wants to start us off?
I guess I can start us off. So I'm actually going to give My Hero Academia Season 2 I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10, which seems really high, I guess, but I really enjoyed the anime. And even the parts where it was a little slower and it tapered off, as we mentioned, you got really good exposition and development, or it was just extremely funny. So, such as the hero title naming episode, or getting your hero name episode, whatever you want to call it. I really enjoyed that. So, I'm going to give it a 9.5 for the reasons I've listed all throughout the podcast.
Okay, so for me, it's a Naruto ripoff. 4 out of 10. No, I'm kidding.
Jesus, wow.
Okay, it was low-key roast, but okay, I give it a 8. Okay, real one. 8 out of 10.
Breathe. I cannot breathe.
8 out of 10. Reason why is tournament arc was good. Stain arc was good, but like I said, like everyone said, wish it was longer. That's why it's like a 0.5 off. But the final exam arc, I kind of like dimmed off. It's like kind of started to lose interest a bit, and like I just completely forgot Boku no Hero Academia like episodes came out like some of the time. But after All Might versus Deku and Bakugo showed up, I got hyped up again. So yeah, so I give it an 8 or 8.5 out of 10. So yeah,
I think I have to go for
that's pretty fair.
The 8.5. Again, it was a really, really enjoyable show. It's hard to with numbers to judge it, especially considering that we're kind of putting this with Kakegurui, which I gave a 7. So it's hard to judge where this fits because it's a completely different genre, and I think
absolutely
it is probably my first that I can think of, my first shonen anime that I've watched in a very long time, and it's gotten me into other things like Shokugeki no Soma, which I've really been enjoying. So on that front, I'd give it a 10.
Hey, thanks to me, boy.
I'd give it a 10 for really introducing me to this genre again. But as it is, an 8.5, I think fits it rather well.
That's what it is for me, Brad, too, because this really did get me into this genre as well, and I've loved every second of it, and it's kind of been a gateway to other animes, and so it does mean a lot to me. And yeah, I'm out of 10. I'm gonna give it I'm always weird with ratings. I'm gonna give it an 8.8. I want to give it an 8.75, but we're only doing 2 decimals, so I'll round it up to an 8.8. And anywhere. Or we're only doing 1 decimal, excuse me. So yeah, 8.8 out of 10, almost a 9. Really, really solid season 2. Overall, I'd probably give it like an 8 anywhere from an 8.5 out of a 9, even if we're including season 1. But yeah, it's a good show. It's enjoyable. And as we said in the beginning, it's not a unique show. It's not a new concept, and it's almost impossible for shows nowadays to be unique and to be, to not fall into typical cliches. But as long as the characters are good, as long as the story is enjoyable, as long as it's executed well, as long as the music is good, the animation's good, the voice acting's good, as long as you can relate to these characters, then who cares if it falls into some cliches? So for me, 8.8 out of 10 for season 2. But anyway, guys, please leave all your thoughts down below. We really hope you enjoyed, and thank you for, if you're still watching, this will be the longest podcast we've ever done. Most Backweeb Boys podcasts probably will, especially when we review. The next one we will do most likely will be Soul Eater, which is a classic. I'm on episode 33 out of 51, and I think everyone else, Brad might not be on that one, but everyone else has watched it, so that will be a very fun one. That'll be the next one we do, and then there will probably be another one, so expect that one in maybe 2 to 3 weeks. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed another Backweeb Boys podcast. Are you guys good? Anything else to say? Check out Brad on his anime channel. I'll link it down below. Anyone else? Anything else to say?
Well, thanks for that plug, Dill. And I hope you guys enjoyed Utes singing.
Utes there.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thank you for listening to my rants about the negativity.
Yeah. Absolutely. It was a blast, and thank you guys. We would not be doing this without you. So everyone, have an amazing day, and as always, thank you so much for watching.